dangerous times. I'm not sure that the degree of partisanship is more severe in the aftermath of the election than it was before the election took place. The central issue that you're raising is the question of whether or not the United States will continue to be a nation that is dominated by minority rule. And the attempted coup on January 6th was clearly an effort to install a government in place that would be a representative of the minority of the population. And so that's a serious issue. We don't think that the current Congress is likely to pass a bill for true reparations. And so we have a struggle ahead of us, and it's a struggle essentially for whether or not the United States actually behaves as a democratic nation or not. And that's
So I want to say, first of all, reparations is a debt. It's a debt that's owed by the federal government. It's not the idea behind it is not that it's going to make Black people whole. This is a debt that the federal government owes and has owed for 156 years. Now, what the individual recipients do with those funds is up to them. If they choose to use part of those funds for therapy, if they choose to use part of those funds to acquire, a residence that gives them great pleasure, or to travel, to invest in their friends, invest in their communities, because that's something that gives them joy, then, for us, that's an inside job. That's not something that the government can do for you. But what the federal government can do and should do is pay this debt.
Reparations does, according to the United Nations, have several components. But frankly, I'm most interested in cash. We feel like somehow if we say that financial repair is a foremost part of reparations, that almost makes it feel dirty. Slavery was an economic system. Slavery was not about a bunch of racist people who just decided to transport 13 million Africans across the Atlantic because they just didn't like Africans. Yeah. Right? It was created to extract profit from the stolen labor of our ancestors. The 100-year period of racial apartheid was a system of economic exploitation to try to keep Black Americans in as economically exploitable as a state as possible, as close to slavery. And so, of course, the repair has to revolve around financial repair. The narrative against reparations has always been Black people are irresponsible. Mm-hmm. So it's one, we're not deserving of reparations, but two, we're irresponsible, that we are the cause of the racial wealth gap, is we simply don't want to work hard, that we simply don't want to get an education,
we just want to buy
that
Jordans
if we
and
just
not get passports. Yeah.
Right. And first of all, so what? Yeah. Right? Like, freedom is I spend my money how I want to, but it's also just not true. I wanted to center the argument in data, right? In research, which shows that, one, we save a higher percentage of our income. We just have less income to save. Mm-hmm. That even when we get married, we actually have less wealth than unwed white Americans. Mm-hmm. That our homes don't appreciate. So home ownership does not close the racial wealth gap for us. That there's actually nothing we can do on our own to undo 400 years of a head start that white Americans and really other groups have had. I was explicitly writing to all of those who tried to foster a narrative of Black pathology, when really the pathology was those who thought that they had a right to enslave people and force them to work for profit.
America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its Black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. America...